That's the start of our recording. Okay, so we're going to learn how to solve inequalities with variables on only one side. Girls? Our essential question is, how is solving an inequality different than solving an equation? So that's what we're going to learn about today. Equations have one answer. It is whatever the single number is that you can plug into the variable so that both sides of that equation are exactly the same. And inequalities have infinitely many answers. So there's one answer for an equation, lots and lots of answers for inequalities.
Why are you recording?
But you solve them exactly the same. So we need to get the variable by itself. We would subtract 6 from both sides. Subtract 6 from both sides. And this one we get 2q equals 4. And the inequality, we have 2q is greater than 4. So the only thing that's different is that sign that separates the sides. Divide both sides by 2. And our only answer for an equation is q equals 2. That is the only number you can plug in to make that equation true. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 6 equals 10. They're exactly the same. On this one, q is anything greater than 2. Q is not equal to 2. You cannot plug 2 in and get a true statement because you would have 10 is greater than 10, and 10 cannot be greater than itself. But any numbers bigger than 2 will be answers. So our solution is not 2, but 2.1 would be an answer. 2.1 times 2 is 4.2 plus 6 is 10.2. 10.2 is greater than 10, so 2.1 is an answer. Spencer, what's another answer?
No, I was going to ask, how is q bigger than 2? Q's not even a number.
Whatever number that letter represents will be bigger than 2.
Yeah, but how do you know what number?
No, because it's saying it's greater than the number 2. So that means when you go down the number line.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, q is greater than 2. Whatever q is, whatever number you plug in for q will be greater than 2. So Spencer, what's another number greater than 2?
3.
3. So 3 is a possible solution. 3 is greater than 2. 500 is another possible solution. 500 is greater than 2.
About 2.000000001.
Yep, 2.0000001. And a half. It's greater than 2. Okay, what happens if you need to multiply or divide both sides by a negative number? You must flip the inequality symbol. That means greater than turns to less than turns to greater than or equal to turns to less than or equal to, or less than or equal to turns to greater than or equal to. Why? Glad you asked. So why do we have to flip the inequality symbol? If you look at this statement, 6 is greater than 2, that is true. If you add 4 to both sides, 6 plus 4 is 10, 2 plus 4 is 6. So if you take this original statement and you add the same number to both sides, that statement is still true. So you can add the same thing to both sides of an inequality and have a true statement. If you subtract the same number from both sides, negative 2 is a number greater than 6. So adding to both sides and just subtracting from both sides is okay. If we multiplied both sides by 3, we would have 18 is greater than 6. Is that true?
Yes.
And if we divided both sides by 2, we would have 3 is greater than 1. Is that true?
Sure.
So we can also multiply and divide both sides by positive numbers, and it doesn't change the validity of that inequality. If we tried to multiply both sides by negative 3, we would have negative 18 is greater than negative 6. Is this true?
Yes. Oh, no.
No. But to make it true, we just have to flip the inequality sign, and now it is true. The same thing will happen with division. If we divide both sides by negative 2, negative 3 is greater than negative 1. Is that true? No. But if we flip the inequality sign, then it is true. So, when you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, you must flip the sign. Alright, also, sometimes people forget what the inequality signs mean. So, what does this one mean?
Less than.
Less than. And what does this one mean? Okay? My trick for remembering these... No, I don't know. I don't know if I showed this. This is less than, and it kind of looks like an L for less. You wouldn't write less like this. That's just silly. But you could write less like that if you write a sideways L. So I remember that less than, that sign looks like an L, sort of. Like an L slanted a bit. Okay? And then when it has the line underneath, not like these two, that's less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So the line underneath, half of the equal sign, means equals to. Okay, so we solve these just like we solve equations. What do I do first? Subtract 3 from both sides. X divided by 2 is less than 2. Nima, what should I do next? This says x divided by 2. What's the opposite of division? So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. These cancel. X is less than 2 times 2, which is 4. Oh, sorry, less than or equal to. Okay, when I put a circle down, I put a circle on 4. Because there's an extra line underneath my inequality sign, that extra line, I remember, needs to fill in the circle. So less than or equal to or greater than or equal to gets a closed circle. Less than or greater than just gets an open circle. And then, when I read this, x is less than or equal to 4. So my possible numbers are less than 4. They're the smaller numbers. So my arrow will go to the left. Some people like to remember that the less than sign points in the direction of your arrow. So there's your less than. It's pointing to the left, so less than goes to the left. But that only works if your variable is written first. Then you can use that trick. Okay? You guys try these next two on your own.
So if you divide by a negative, it's not going to flip the sign, only if you multiply?
Both. Multiply or divide by a negative number. We're doing notes right now. Let me see them. Keep working.
there's no door. Can I just use a
Nope, you can finish your notes.
What table? Can I just put the ring calculator? I don't remember my table number.
Look at your progress report. I wrote it on there.
Wait, you said my... Have you graded our project we did yesterday on Monday? Did you grade, or Tuesday, did you grade that?
What's TRS?
Your report's over there.
I'm from Narnia.
Okay,
Wait, no,
this, nope, the second example, we subtract 8 from both sides and get negative 5x is greater than 25. We divide both sides by negative 5 and we get x, what's my sign?
Less than.
Is less than negative 5. Why did we flip the sign?
Because you were multiplying by a negative number.
Because we are multiplying or dividing by a negative number. So, is it an opened or closed circle?
Open.
Open circle. Does it go to the left or the right? To the left. X is less than negative 5. So x are the smaller numbers, things smaller than negative 5. Next one, we add 5 to both sides, and we get 2 is greater than or equal to 1/3 x. Multiply both sides by 3, we have 6. What's my sign?
X is less than or equal to...
Oh, yeah. All right, same thing. 6 is greater than or equal to x. So when I graph that, is it an opened or closed circle on 6?
Closed.
Closed circle. And this says 6 is greater than or equal to x. So 6 is bigger than everything else. 6 is as big as it can be. The rest of the numbers have to be smaller than 6 because nothing can be bigger than 6. So 6 is greater than or equal to x. The arrow goes to the left. You can't do your arrow trick because x is not written first. If you want to turn around and write x first, then the inequality sign faces the 6, so you got to flip it around and face the 6. And then your arrow trick works. X is less than 6, arrow to the left. Questions? All right, flip it over, try some more.
You mean try like it's mandatory, or you mean like you can do it?
I mean, try, like, do your best.
Okay. There's 2. Oh my lord. Well, what's that shoe?
Mm-hmm.
For this one, 2 minus.
Yeah, you can start by doing that.
Say it louder.
You can't.
Spencer, move.
Too bad.
Let's go. After the notes.
You start with a negative x.
That was me, Nemo. Stupid. Nemo's not stupid. He's just not very good. Where's paint?
Let me borrow your eraser.
You want me to borrow your eraser? I say that.
All right, make sure you're doing these 3 problems. I'm going to randomly calling you to answer them.
Oh, yeah. So by you mean randomly call you just mean like you're not gonna call
Spencer.
Because I really can't have all that pressure on me. I'm allergic to pressure.
I'll survive.
So one of them has gotta be 16. Because it was not minus 14. I got a negative 16. Under pressure.
Okay, what don't you get? Okay, let's do like okay. Multiplying by 6 is not going to go first. We're going to do positive 7. Plus 7 minus 1.
What do you have?
Ask subtract multiply divide plus 7. Subtract. I got X minus 7. So negative 1 is greater than whatever 8 minus 7 is. Not multiply.
Under pressure.
Your mom's.
Okay?
Your mom's.
And now it's negative 1/6
Under
times X.
pressure.
What?
Okay, so you're going to multiply 46 by negative 6.
That's how much I'm money.
Negative 1/6 to negative 6.
Oh my god, Braxton. Put that away.
I'm gonna give you something for Christmas.
Just multiply by negative 6.
When I said Braxton. When I said Braxton.
I didn't do anything.
You're weird.
What I do? With the Braxton. What was Braxton even doing?
When I said Braxton, put that away.
Yep.
Who? I didn't even. I was coloring black
Yeah, I'll probably do that.
on a snowflake, which is weird.
Okay, are you guys ready? No, there's only 3 problems to do.
Shut up. It's obviously right because all the other answers are wrong.
Obviously, right.
Alright, volunteer to share their answer for number 1.
Me.
Alright, Spencer.
1 second. Let me.
Okay, no, you're too late. Braxton?
Yeah, dang it. Oh man. I totally didn't do that on purpose.
X is less than what? X is less than negative 6 for number 1. Number 2. Go ahead, Eli.
I got X is greater than or equal to negative 18.
X is greater than or equal to negative 18. And last one? No. Oh, wait, yeah. X is less than 1.
Oh man.
Okay, so I'm gonna write down these problems. Check your work. Make sure you did it right. If you did not, or you don't understand how to do one, let me know. Okay. Also, make sure you graphed these right. Number 2, we want to make sure we're multiplying both sides by 3 first to get rid of that denominator.
Under pressure.
Alright, and this third one, what do we multiply everything by? Multiply by 10 to get rid of all of the denominators.
I'm not even gonna answer those people.
All right, check your graphs, check your answers. If you have any questions, let me know.
I got all of them right.
Not yet. All right, just like we did with equations, you also have to do distributive property and combining like terms.
What?
You said you did these. So, if you have distributive property and or combining like terms, you get rid of the parentheses first. First you do the distributive property. So, we'll do this bottom one. We have to take a negative 4, not just a 4, but a negative 4 and distribute it inside the parentheses. I am multiplying everything by negative 4, but it is not happening on both sides of the inequality, so we don't flip this sign yet. 3x minus 4 minus 8x is less than negative 64. So when you're solving equations or inequalities, you do as much as you can to simplify each side individually before you move terms. So on this one, we have to simplify the distributive property first. Then you can combine like terms. 3x minus 8x is negative 5x. And then this, once we've simplified it, is the same thing we were doing on the front. So we'll add 4 to both sides of the inequality. And now, what number do I have to divide by? I have to divide by negative 5. Because of this negative 5 that I do on both sides, since that's the one that's negative, then I flip my sign. Negative 60 divided by negative 5 is 12. It does not matter about the negative 60. That could be negative or positive. That part doesn't matter. It's because what I write down on both sides is negative that we flip it. So you guys do the next 3.
I did them, but I'm confused.
One of them's 5.5.
Serious?
Yep.
You got it right?
Yep.
But then one of them doesn't go on the number line.
That's okay. I haven't solved them. I don't know. I'll let you know.
So I don't get distracted. I don't understand why I can't finish this. I already know this.
Okay, can you show me that you know this stuff?
Can you just give me a test on it and when I can end?
There will be a test at the end of class today.
You fail the test?
Yeah, how many stickers do we need to get a pizza party again?
I don't know what that is.
12.
We need 12 stickers. I'm just relying on the group to do my job.
What?
No,
No.
period 6 has got 1 sticker. Period 4's got 4, R3, I know.
No.
Period 3 and 2. So we're half, or 5, so we're kind of like,
You stole my other one too.
No, yeah, I keep reading.
we're one less than
It's on my desk. I'll bring it tomorrow.
You gotta get some of your pressure. You guys are good.
I already did one of these What? No.
You know Jason said you were a terrible quarterback?
He is.
Yeah, I know. How would you know that?
Because you play soccer.
I know,
You
exactly.
throw the ball to the goalie.
What do you think?
Where's the arm?
The goalie throws the ball to me because I'm the top of the team. So.
You're what?
Top player on the
Let's
team.
go.
He goes better than me.
Eli, you're funny.
You know that.
You're funny. Eli. You're really funny.